Hi, welcome back to Papeles de Elibe. My last video was a Hobonichi unboxing, and in my eagerness to open the haul I had waited 2 months for, and also in my nervousness because the video was unscripted, I ended up just kind of vomiting excitement for the whole video. Apparently it was fun for some people, thankfully. I got a lot of really nice comments on that video, but I know that the same thing that made it fun for some people also made it really unhelpful for anybody who would have been watching as a newcomer, which obviously is a huge portion of who watches unboxing videos, right? You hear about a thing, you wonder what all the hype is about, you wonder if you should get the thing, what your options are, what the experience of the thing is. I've been there. And that's why I decided to make this video going more in depth with the things that I purchased, showing off the accessories in action, and explaining my reasoning behind each book that I got, because I know that that can be really helpful for a beginner's decision-making process, and also really, really fun for established stationery lovers and planner people. Most of the accessories that we're going to be going over today are sized specifically for use with Hobonichi covers or Hobonichi planners, but this little guy right here, I think anybody who has a need to store things on their desk could use. Now, I know I said little guy, but I don't actually think this pouch is all that small. I saw quite a few reviews of people saying that the pouch was much smaller than they thought it would be, and maybe I didn't have that experience just because I had the opportunity to adjust my expectations upon hearing that so many times. But this is my year of many planners, which I feel means it also has to be my year of ease of use and accessibility in order to even have a fighting chance to keep up with all of the planners that I have. And this pouch has been incredible for that goal. So I'm in love with it, and I highly recommend it to anybody who thinks they would have enough space in it. If you're curious about what I have inside, this is a little sneak peek, but I'm actually going to make a whole nother video about that, as well as some other cases that I really like. So be on the lookout for that. And now we can dive a little deeper into the world of Hobonichi accessories. I can tell you right now why I got each and every single item you see here, and that was either because I thought it looked super cute or looked super helpful, or in some really lucky cases, both. So I hope that's easy enough to decide for yourself whether you agree and it's worth it for you to get any one of these things, but I will share with you something that is often said amongst Hobonichi enthusiasts, and that is if you are already planning a Hobonichi order directly from the Hobonichi website and you're on the fence about an accessory, it's really in your best interest to just go ahead and get that thing. These things are all super inexpensive when you buy them directly from the Hobonichi website, and if you pass when you're making an order from Hobonichi, you're going to either have to get it from a US retailer for literally double the price, or maybe somebody selling an accessory that they changed their mind on Mercari or eBay or some Reddit thread, and you'd probably still pay like double the price. And if you get an accessory from the website and you decide that you really don't like it and you really want your money back, you will most likely be able to get it back if you list your item on Hobonichi buy sell trade groups on Facebook or Mercari or any one of those places. So really, if you're on the fence about it and you're already making an order for books or anything else from Hobonichi and you're paying that $30 or more for shipping, go ahead and get whatever accessory you're wondering about. I wanted to start with these little envelopes just to get them out of the way, honestly, because they're a little bit different from the other accessories that we're looking at in that they are not Hobonichi brand accessories. Like, they're not made by Hobonichi. They're made by a stationery brand called Mizushima, and they're sold on the Hobonichi website, and I got them just because I like to give mini cards to people. But on the Hobonichi website, they say, these envelopes are great for storing in your planner cover pocket in case they ever come in handy. They're also useful for adding a pocket to a book page by gluing one side of the envelope to the paper. I also know that it's customary to give money as a gift in Japan and do it in little envelopes. I don't know if that's the intention behind these. There's not any mention of that in the description. Maybe that was the inspiration. I don't know. I just thought it would be a fun way to spice up the little cards I like to give people, so here they are. These are called the Hobonichi index stickers. They come with 2 sheets, and each sheet comes with a set of monthly tabs, and the colors of those tabs match the colors of the monthlies in the Hobonichi Techo original and the Hobonichi Techo cousin. And each sheet also comes with blank tabs for you to label however you would like, and one of the sheets has those blank tabs in this, like these really light pastel colors, and the other sheet has the blank tabs with Hobonichi's little monkey character in different poses. It's actually really cute, I think. At first, I did think it was silly to have 2 sets of monthly tabs because I couldn't figure out why anybody would want to tab 12 pages in a row, like for your monthlies. I mean, the months are all just right next to each other, but then I thought about it, and if you have a cousin, having 2 sets really would be super helpful for the weekly sections and the daily sections. I just didn't really think that these would be necessary or particularly useful in any of my planners. I thought about putting them in my Hobonichi Hone, but I didn't want all those colors with my kind of neutral beige cover, even though that's not really my aesthetic. That's the aesthetic of this Hone cover, and I want to honor that. So instead, because I do want to experience them and see what the application process was like, I thought it was fitting to put them in my stationery playground planner, since this is the book to test out my stationery, and that includes tabs. I did find them relatively easy to put on. Obviously, it's going to be difficult to get any set of tabs perfect, and I will say I think it's easier to see the mess ups with these compared to the tabs in my Jibun Techo. At first, I tried to apply them by lining up the white part, or where the color meets the white and the line that creates, with the edge of the paper. But then I started to simply line up the edge of the tab with the edge of the horizontal weekly box, and that worked just as well. This is called the Hobonichi mini letter set in apple and flower. So you'd think their main intended use is to write messages to people. And if you're like living in the 90s and you want to physically give someone your number, this is a really cute way to leave it. But really, you can use this extra little bit of paper however you want. When I first bought it, I figured I would use it as extra writing space if I ever filled up a page but had more to say. It's sized perfectly to fit in an official Hobonichi cover, whether it be A5 or A6 size. This is the Hobonichi double stick tape, and it's just like it sounds. It's tape that's sticky on both sides. They come in strips on little sheets that come in a little blue folder. I think it's really cute. It's small enough to fit in any official Hobonichi cover or many other kind of covers that you would get, even in a clear pocket that comes with the weeks. So it's super portable. I wouldn't rely on this as your primary way of sticking things in your planner. You would run out of it pretty fast. But if you're going to be maybe away from your desk for a while, or you just have something really meaningful that you want to put in your planner right away, this is a nice little solution to be able to do that if you really want to. These are called the Hobonichi Translucent Sticky Notes in Love It Panda. I haven't been with Hobonichi long, so I haven't seen these sticky notes offered in other designs, but I'm assuming in previous years they had these sticky notes with the holder reflecting a design from that year. This is just a design from this year, and I mean the design is cute. It's not really my style, but I love the function of these sticky notes, and I love that the holder that holds all these different sizes of the sticky notes is portable enough to fit in probably any pocket for any cover that you would use for your techo. So when I was filming, I demonstrated that they have 2 sizes that fit perfectly within the Hobonichi Cousin Weeklies. One that would represent 3 hours and the other one that would represent an hour and a half. And I show how the green one doesn't quite fit, and I did think that was weird, but I figured maybe that was just meant to hold your place, like be a little tab that you could move around so you could get to a page easily. But as I'm looking at the Hobonichi website right now, actually, they show that it's 5 different sizes that come in this little set of translucent tabs. All the tabs at the top fit the Hobonichi original monthly section perfectly, and all the tabs in the bottom row fit a section of the cousin perfectly. I've been using these to know what I want to use each section for in my books because it just looks so much better on here than the post-it flags, and they take ballpoint and pencil really well. I did get a pen test for you though, so here's that. Sorry I'm not super scientific or consistent about how I am kind of doing the smear test. I just wait a beat after I'm finished writing, but I think it takes different pens quite well. They're not as great as page flags. They're not the easiest to flip right to, as you can see, but it's probably faster to find your page with them than without them. And of course, these are also great to mark down events that aren't set in stone and you think might change. And if you wanted to see how they take erasing, here's some footage of that. I would say not well. I was surprised by how poorly they did, honestly, but it really makes no difference to me because I'm probably always going to use pen with these. But, you know, maybe you're different. These are Hobonichi pencil boards, and pencil boards are really popular in the world of Japanese stationery to the point that I know the Japanese name for them, shirajiki. Not sure if I said that all the way right, but the idea is there. The 2 main ways that people use them are underneath the page that they're writing on as a barrier to protect the next page from bleed through from their pen, as well as to give you a smooth writing surface directly under the page for a better writing experience, which will also keep the page that you're writing on as well as the next page from getting indentations from your writing utensil. The pencil boards can also serve as a bookmark, of course, and as a straight edge. They even come with these little lines to mark centimeters. And people also use them on top of the page that they're writing on to protect the paper from oils on your hands. Because if you're not careful, if you already have something written on the page, you can smudge it. And even if you don't have anything written yet, hand oils on your paper can make it so your utensil just doesn't write on the paper. It's really annoying, and I've damn near ripped a few pages just trying to make a mark where I've previously touched my weeks. So these things are super functional, but they're also just really freaking pretty. Like just a little thing to boost your mood every time you open your planner. These are the Hobonichi Stencils. The 3 I have are called the Speech Bubble Set, the Activity Set, and the Schedule Set. They're a super portable way to decorate your techo. They're just a little bit longer and wider than a credit card, but they're thinner. And then, of course, there's the one that's way more narrow than a credit card, but also a little bit taller. But they are all quite small, so that means that the designs you trace with them can have quite small openings, so you can't just use these with just any pen. I tried these with a bunch of different pens in my stationery playground to try to demonstrate how they won't just work with any pen, because that's what I remember from my experience, but then all of the pens I tried ended up working. So, I mean, you might have some pens that won't work. I mean, I'm sure I have some options that won't work. I guess I just don't tend to reach for them. But yeah, here are some examples of what these little stencils can do. Or perhaps more accurately, what you can do with these stencils. Next up, we have the Hobonichi Page Keeper. This is a little card with an elastic that's meant to be placed in the little corner pocket of the official Hobonichi covers, or in the clear pocket that comes with the weeks. And from its name, you can probably guess that it can keep your page. You just place the little elastic over the page you want to easily flip to. But it can also be used to keep your book closed while you're carrying it around to minimize the damage to the pages inside. It's much sturdier than it looks, with the elastic being super strong and super stretchy. Here we have the Hobonichi Memo Pad set, which comes in every size that Hobonichi offers planners or notebooks in, so that's weeks, A6 and A5. They come with 3 in a set, and I got the ones with the mother designs on them because I love them, but if they're not your cup of tea, Hobonichi does offer solid colored covers as well, with each size having a different color palette. And they are made a little smaller than the planner they're meant to accompany, so that they can easily be tucked into the front or back cover. They are also made with Tomoe River paper, so even though they have 48 pages, which I think is a pretty good amount of pages, they're only 2 millimeters thick. The grid inside is 3.7 millimeters, and the pages are perforated so they can be easily torn out. And something that I hadn't thought about before, but that Hobonichi mentions on their website, is that since the memo pads are smaller than the books that they're meant to accompany, you can easily tear out one of those perforated pages and paste the whole thing into your book if for some reason you're carrying the memo pad set separately from the planner. Maybe you want to go super light. Obviously, you can use these for whatever your heart desires, but the 2 use cases I think these are best for, in my opinion, are kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum. On one hand, I think it's really good for information that you need to write down in the moment, but you don't really want to clutter your planner with because you simply don't care about it. Then you can just recycle it all at the end of the year. Or on the other hand, these can be really useful for people who want to keep certain information with them year after year. So I'm thinking about the people who use the day freeze as a bullet journal. Just a quick little note about these. I've been trying to figure out how to get these to work with the little clear pockets that come with the weeks, just because I want them to be a little bit more secure than just simply placing them inside the front or back cover. And I've used that little pocket in a few different positions. You can even see here I ripped a little bit of my A6 home page in the back from removing the sticker, but I've come to the conclusion they simply do not fit in that little pocket unless you put just one of the memo pad set covers in it. Just a little tip. This is the Hobonichi weekly calendar, and it's similar to the memo pads in that it's a little smaller than the A6 in order to easily and conveniently fit within the front cover of your A6 techo. I don't really think it works in the back cover as well, but you know, you do you. It's a nice supplement to the A6 planners that Hobonichi offers because those have monthly and daily pages but no weekly sections. So for people that are weekly planners, this is a good option. It is not, however, a good option for time blocking because it is just way too small. But if you want to just put in appointments and events or have a place for to-do lists, this will most likely be enough for that. So in my unboxing video, I accidentally called all of the clear covers on covers, but the ones for the weeks are actually just called clear covers. The ones that are singular, cover on cover, honestly, it's kind of confusing trying to figure out what the plural of that should be, but they're named that because they're not meant to go directly over your planner like the weeks covers are, but rather they're meant to go over the Hobonichi official cover that you choose for your planner. Specifically, the Hobonichi official cover that you choose from their Colors series. Every year, Hobonichi releases covers in what they call their Color series, and those covers are just one solid color on the outside and a different solid color on the inside and on the pen loops. They're pretty bold in the color combinations that they choose, which adds some excitement to what can, on the surface, seem like a really basic and potentially boring cover. But another way to add excitement to them is by adding a cover on cover with some design on it. Every year, Hobonichi releases new designs for their covers on covers, so you could get into Hobonichi and just buy one Colors cover and then buy the new cover on cover every year after that and get a new cover, quote unquote, for $4 to $6 depending on the size you need. And if you choose a Hobonichi cover that does have a design on it, there's also a clear cover on cover that can go over your Hobonichi official cover as long as it's the kind with the pen loops, with the butterfly pen loops, just so you can keep your cover in pristine condition. Hobonichi Techo Weeks, though, don't get separate covers in the color series, their color series covers are built into the book. So the clear covers for them aren't called cover on covers because they're not going over a separate cover that then goes on the book. They just go directly over the book. But of course, the idea is the same. The designed clear covers give you an easy way to change up the look of your planner. I'm not an expert at putting them on, but back when we used stretchy book covers for our textbooks in grade school, we were always taught to open the book about halfway, then lie it face down on the table and bring up the covers to apply the protective cover, then close the book as normal. And I think that works pretty well for Hobonichi planners and their covers as well. And now we get to the point in the video where I tell you how I decided upon all of these planners. And I'm going to be telling you guys about it face to face, honestly, just because I think it'll be way easier on me when I go to edit. And I've already been working on this video for way longer than I thought I would, or intended to, or want to, and I'm so tired of it. So the initial plan was an A6 techo, I wasn't sure which one yet, a cousin, a day free in A5, and a weeks. I've previously tried the weeks as an EDC, and I really loved it as just a really quick way to see a summary of my essential tasks and events, appointments, or really cool memories. But I really like the idea of being able to look back on a summary of my day that includes anything interesting I may have watched or listened to or discovered or just generally come across in the course of my day, and the weeks is definitely way too small for that. That's what initially drew me to look at the A6. It's also really attractive for me to have enough space to really break my day down and have really specific to-dos and order of operations and just little notes about tasks, all that kind of stuff. Plus, I just really wanted the experience of an A6 techo because that's like the first planner that Hobonichi ever offered. It's their flagship, their go-to, and I have never experienced it yet, so I just wanted that. The day free in A5 was intended to be a little memory keeping scrapbook situation. I had first tried the day free in A6 for this use, but I found the pages were just way too small for my liking. And I didn't like that if I missed days, I didn't know where to scrapbook my current day in order to leave enough space to catch up on the days that I have missed. So I switched to a cousin of Eck halfway through the year, which is perfect because it's the half year book anyway. If you order at the beginning of the year, you can get both halves. And then starting in June, you can just get the latter half of the year in the Avec. So I really liked the space that the A5 gave me, but I did end up with way too many blank pages for it to be a long-term solution for me, because there's just not something worth scrapbooking a whole page about every day, right? So I figured a day free in A5 would be my perfect solution for a scrapbooking area, especially now this year that I'm keeping up with so many planners and journals and have so much information about each of my days all at my fingertips. I wanted the cousin because I had grown really fond of using the weekly section as just like a really low pressure time tracker where I can just note down what I'm doing at any time just to have some information about how I'm spending my time each day. Plus, I tend to watch a lot of informational YouTube videos, but I don't implement that information because it doesn't stick. So I really like the idea of having a paper accountability partner, not one where I write down my goals. I have a separate planner for that, but one that can hold all of the information that I can find and tips to implement in order to reach those goals. As for the weeks, I just really wanted a space to be totally dedicated to stationery, a place to test out my different stationery and track my purchases, what pens I've inked when, my thoughts on different planners, paper, pens, etc. I have spent a lot of time in the past just writing about stationery, so I wanted to have a dedicated place to do all of that in. So now that you know what the plan was, let's now get into why and how I deviated from the plan. Honestly, it's as simple as the releases got me. That's it. Okay, first I'll explain how I decided which A6 to get. Those hones were really tempting. A lot of covers were really beautiful, but it was easy to rule them out because I really wanted a classic feeling planner that Hobonichi has offered for a long time, and the hone just kind of felt like the new and almost trendy option. I had originally been leaning towards the Hobonichi Techo Original because the smaller grid appealed to me in order to have more lines per page. I really liked the to-do boxes on each daily and the different colors for the months. Plus, I was considering using the timeline on the side of the page to do some time tracking when I'm away from home, where my time tracking cousin would be on my desk. And the timeline in the original is just so much better than the timeline in the planner. But I did ultimately end up going with the planner because I decided that if I ever needed a time track on the go, I would just use a weekly supplement for that instead of taking up my precious 1 page per day space. And I saw a video that confirmed that the planner, despite having a bigger grid, only has 1 less line than the original. And the design of the planner with that textured black cover and the gold foiling is just so divine, and I just needed to try it at least 1 year. So the first deviation from my original plan was adding a weeks, and that was because I could not decide between the Mother Summers cover and the pale blue-green cover from the paper series. I thought the Mother cover just went so well with my intended use of stationary playground with the carefree feel. I mean, it's called summer and all the colors. Plus, it's literally on the beach and I'm literally a mermaid. But this planner was also giving me mermaid vibes, especially with the subtle shimmer. That reminds me of Ariel's dress at the end of The Little Mermaid. I'm still so upset that I don't see anybody talking about that. This is literally Ariel's dress at the end of Little Mermaid in planner form. It's so cool. So I was torn between them, torn. And I was like, I really want both, but I really couldn't think of a way to use both. And I think that it was just because I was being blocked by my guilt of even thinking about adding another book. Because as soon as the thought budget planner popped into my head, I was amazed that it had taken so long to think of that. And it really helped with the guilt because I think that that's a really good use for weeks. And I hadn't had any budget planning, any space to budget in my planner lineup thus far. So that's 1 week's added. Then I saw somebody post the raspberry sneaker weeks on Reddit. And I just thought that color was so gorgeous, even though I knew I would never get it. And that feeling was just amplified when I saw a comment saying, oh, it's so perfect, like for the year of Barbie. It's like the Barbie weeks. And that comment did some kind of like marketing magic in my brain, even though I have no interest in Barbie for some reason. Something about the things I saw on that little Reddit post just made me so extra curious about the Weeks Mega. To be fair, I was already really curious about what a Weeks Mega would be like, and I had already intended to buy a Weeks Mega actually as my stationary playground book for this year because it has all of those pages, all of that space for fun stationary testing. But I didn't like any of the colors that the Weeks Mega came in this year, so I went with the beautiful Mother cover, and I was at first worried that I wouldn't have enough pages for all of the stationary playing around that I was going to do. But then I remembered the Hobonichi Memo sets, and that was that. So I was already left with curiosity about the Weeks Mega, and then that damn Reddit post for some reason just made me so curious about the sneaker Weeks Mega, because it's just so different from all of the other books, and I wanted to see how it would feel. But I thought, no way could I ever add another planner to my lineup, and surprisingly, I came up with a use for it pretty quickly, which was as an emotions tracker. I have in the past been skeptical of those before because usually it's just one space to write a word or maybe a doodle to encapsulate your mood throughout the whole day, and I just think that's so silly because it changes, right? But with the 3 dots in the horizontal weekly of the weeks, it allows you to split the days into 3 sections, and there you can make notes about, I mean, whatever you want. Obviously, in my case, it would be my mood throughout the day. And then, of course, it has that mega amount of blank pages in the back for if I ever need to really, get deep into my stuff. Plus, Hobonichi describes the sneaker weeks as like their casual planner. It's intended to be able to take rough handling, and I just think that's so fitting for an emotional tracker. I thought I was finished. I swore I was finished, but there was kind of a lot of time between when I made my initial decisions and when I was able to get together enough money to actually make an order. And in that time, I couldn't stop grieving the loss of the planners that I wasn't going to experience this year. The bow and tie Cats and Me and the bow and tie Tiny Dragons. I loved the Cats and Me because the color is just within that range of blues and greens that I really, really love. I'm not a crazy cat lady, but I do that's heavy. And I thought it was so cool how it feels like they're all different. When I looked closer, there were only like 4 different cats, but if you just glance at it real quick, it really looks like they're all different. And as for the Tiny Dragons, the color is much too dark and blue for my preference, but I loved that it's specific to this year, for the year of the dragon, even though we ended up with seahorses, because the Japanese for seahorse directly translates to dragon's bastard child. And again, I'm a literal mermaid, so it was a little hard to pass up this cover with my cousins on it. And I did immediately come up with a use for a bow and tie Cats and Me A6 Hon, which was as a language learning journal. I was surprised that I hadn't thought of it earlier, that I hadn't already added one to my planner lineup, because it's a common use for Hobonichis that I see in the community. And I had been going hard at that point on Duolingo for Japanese for like a month already when I was making my planner decisions. So honestly, it was something I already should have had in my lineup, and I was very happy to assign that use to an A6 Hone so I can get my Cats and Me. And it felt like I had already done the impossible and come up with all of these reasons for all of these books, so I thought, what's adding one more? And I was surprised by how easily the use for a bow and tie Tiny Dragons in weeks format came to me, and that was as a dream journal. Something about seahorses just feels whimsical, so therefore kind of dreamlike, and then the color of it I think matches the night so perfectly. And I think the weeks is a perfect layout for a dream journal because the spaces for each day are so tiny, so you don't have to feel bad if you don't remember anything. But the fact that there is a space for each day makes you want to try really hard to remember something so that you could write something down. And then, of course, if I ever have super wild detailed dreams, there's the blank memo pages next to the horizontal weekly and all the pages in the back. All right, that's all I have to say, y'all. Thank you for sticking around. I feel like really self-conscious right now. I feel kind of like annoying. I don't know if it's just that I have to get used to speaking to the camera, or if I'm like embarrassed about the fact that I have all these freaking planners and it's just from one brand. I still have planners from other brands that I will talk about when I make a lineup video. Clearly, I do not have a good workflow yet when it comes to making videos. I tend to overcomplicate things a lot, and I swear I always try to make my videos and the video editing process super simple, and somehow it always turns out not that at all. So hopefully I get this video out soon, and then hopefully the next video doesn't take as long as this one did, and there's nothing else to say. Thanks for being here.